Hey, what's up, everybody? Browncoat67 here with you today. And the plan for my stream today is to go over the command block bow. You may have seen the short that I posted about it. I think I've got about 20,000 views on it yesterday, which is crazy. It's such a huge amount of views on a short for me so quickly. So thanks, everybody, for checking that out. But clearly, there's some interest in the bow. Uh, hey, we got looks like Steve I in the chat. Hey, what's going on? So, I guess if you want, I'll give you a quick demonstration on the bow and what it does before we get started. So, the whole premise of this bow is that you'll be able to switch between different arrow types, different types of damages or abilities, right? So we have a button that's going to be in your hotbar. I personally like to have it in the last slot. That way it's out of the way of anything like weapons or healing items like food or anything like that that you want up in your inventory. All right, and Steve says that he's good. I'm glad to hear that. So what you do is you drop this button and you'll notice that it pops right up there using probably, you might know this, the title command to tell you what type of arrow we have selected. Steve Eoy, by the way. I think I'm saying that right. All right. Sorry about that. So we have the ice arrows that you saw, lightning arrows, explosive arrows, sonic arrows, and teleport arrows, as well as fire arrows. So, good variety of arrows. And once you have it selected, you can use any bow. I just have a random bow out of the creative menu. You can use an enchanted bow, whatever you want to do. Sorry about that, Steve. It's all one word with your username there. So that's the fire arrow, and what it does is it's basically sets the area, the immediate area around the arrow on fire, obviously, right? So if we go back and we drop this and we switch over to the ice arrow, this is going to be very similar, obviously, kind of the opposite. It fills up the area with ice. So it's really useful for capturing entities that are trying to run away. You can't move, obviously, when you're completely surrounded in ice. Oh, that's the bow. Next one we have is the lightning arrows. And what's really cool about this, and you couldn't see it in the short, is let me summon another entity. What should I hit here? I get a pig. I'm going to summon this pig, and I'm going to shoot my arrow. And not only is the lightning going to come down on the arrow, but it's going to come down on nearby entities as well. Uh-oh. This is a problem. Explosive arrow. That fixed the problem pretty well. That was pretty self-explanatory as far as arrows go, the explosive arrow. I don't think you need to dwell on that one any further. Now, the sonic arrow is pretty cool. I have had quite a few questions on the sonic arrow. That ice just ate my arrow. There. That's weird. It works now. What happened? Where did my arrow go? You saw that, right, chat? Let's see. Steve Boy says you should make streams kind of more like Guppy streams. Then you make something on the stream using our ideas. That's possible. I am pretty new to doing streaming, so the way I doing it right now might not be the way that I keep doing it necessarily. Could definitely plan some fan interaction there. Let's see. Oh, I'm on the wrong side. Sorry. But yeah, so this is the... Oh, yeah, the teleport arrow. I did not show you the last arrow. So the teleport arrow, pretty self-explanatory, but you shoot it, and then once it hits, it's going to teleport you to the place where the arrow landed. I did give you a couple effects on that one. Water breathing, so that if you are like buried into a block or something, you don't need air for a few seconds, so you're not going to suffocate. And then I also gave you slow falling. So if you're using the arrow to get up somewhere high, it'll give you time to plan your next move, shoot your next arrow, whatever you want to do. I also think it's kind of fun to travel using arrows like this with slow falling on it. I think it's, I don't know, it's something I like to do. All right, then we got JT Cutie. He says hi. Whoa. What the dickens? And that's exactly what I'm talking about. Where? That arrow took so long to land. That's crazy. And I can't get in the door. There we go. All right, sorry. So we got JT Cutie saying hi. How you doing there? Isaac's in the chat. Hello. Got a pretty good turnout so far today. So, like I said, you really just need any kind of bow. Nah, that's a terrible idea. No, it's not. I don't like that guy. He stares at me. All right, so before we get started, on the command work, there are a couple commands that I do recommend we type directly into the chat. So the first thing is, in order to get the bow to cycle through the different abilities that you saw, we're going to have to create a scoreboard. For those that are unfamiliar, a scoreboard just kind of keeps track of a number. I'm going to use a dummy scoreboard since we're in Bedrock. And what that does is it lets me control specifically when the score gets increased and decreased. It's not based on anything built into the game. A dummy scoreboard is kind of like a custom scoreboard we can use. So we're going to go ahead and type in scoreboard, objectives, add, arrow type, dummy. So what this is doing is it's adding an objective called arrow type. And as I mentioned, a dummy is just a kind of custom scoreboard that we get more control over. It doesn't get anything added to it or taken away from it automatically based on something happening in the game. So go ahead and type that in. Mine's going to pop up and say it already exists. Yours is going to be like, you made a scoreboard. And then the next one we're going to want to do is the game rule command. Because we're using so many repeating command blocks, as you can see, if you don't type this in, your screen is going to get covered with all the output from the commands. So you're going to want to do game rule, command block, output, false. Thank you, Jay. We got another person up there. RKJ, he says, hey, bro, love your videos. Thank you so much. Oh, see you later, Steve, Owie. Thanks for coming in. All right, so with those, we're more or less ready to start. But I do, on a lot of videos, forget to bring up a ticking area. And then I get a lot of questions from people that are new to commands that want to know why their commands stop working when they get a certain distance away. So I just want to take a second and go over that. So where you're going to build your command blocks at, I'm all next to where all my command blocks are currently. You're going to want to be in that position where you plan on building them. And we're going to do another command into the chat, ticking area. All right, so we're going to add a ticking area. I like to use circle, if I can spell it right. And then tilde, tilde, tilde. And then I usually do 2 or 3 on this. And this is not blocks. This is going to be chunks. So right now, if I were to type this in, and I don't know what I want to call this, command. That's a pretty common one for me to do. What it did with that command is it now created a ticking area that's going to keep the 3 chunks in a radius around the position where I'm at loaded at all times. So all of these commands that I have next to me here, these command blocks, these are always going to be loaded. This is like using certain Redstone devices in Java Edition to force the chunk to stay loaded, which many of you have probably done if you've played on Java at all. So that command's going to keep this area running so that all these command blocks stay loaded, so these abilities don't disappear when I get 90 blocks away or whatever it is. So now we can kind of get started on the command block work. Texture pack. So this is not a texture pack. This is actually the new visual update that Minecraft Bedrock just released. And I want to show you something. I got on the other day and I was flabbergasted. I have reflections on my water. This is vanilla. I'm not running a texture pack right now. I'll show you. So, yeah, resource packs. Here we go. I'm not running anything. from my understanding, somehow figured out that you can do ray tracing or almost like ray tracing without having to have the RTX graphics card. So I think some of the kind of light glowing effects, the better lighting, the reflections, all that stuff, that's now in vanilla Minecraft if your hardware is able to run it. So that's definitely something to take a look at. All right, let's get back in here. Oh no. All right, let's see. Gotcha. Okay. Sorry. I'm trying to read the chat and keep up with everybody here. So as I was saying, we can start with the command block work now. So the first thing we're going to do, and with most of my builds, we're going to control whether or not you have these abilities with a tag. So we have a repeating, always active command block here. And all it is doing /test4 at a tag equals chosen one. So as you know, at a can mean all players, or if you're adding in specific features that you're looking for, it more becomes any player. So in this situation, it's testing for any player that has the chosen one tag. You can give yourself that tag just by doing tag at s, add chosen one. I already have it. It'll pop up differently for you and be like, you have a tag. All right, so when it detects that you have a tag, it's going to power this redstone piston. It's a sticky piston, and it has a redstone block here, so that block moves back and forth with the piston. So when you don't have the tag, this will not be powered. So what this is going to do is it's an impulse need redstone command block. We're going to do /scoreboard players set. So we're going to set a score. At a tag equals chosen one, arrow type 1. So remember that scoreboard that we did at the beginning? We created a scoreboard called arrow type. And for those of you that have joined in since then, this is the commands that we used for that. So we created a scoreboard called arrow type. It's a dummy scoreboard, so we have full control over it. Can I get a hee-haw? No. So what we're doing here is we're going to set arrow type as 1. What this is going to do is if I were to use this command and then let's say I leave off on 6, because there's only 6 of these. When I take the tag off and then come back in, it's just going to restart it back to 1. This is useful for those that have never used it before, and it'll just kind of reset the item if you take the tag off and then go to use it again. There you go. JT's got that for you. All right, and so the next command block here that we're going to do, and oh yeah, never mind this. In the beginning, I was just using this to make sure that this was running. You can go ahead and get rid of that. This is going to be how you get the little button in your last spot on your hotbar. So repeat, always active. We're going to use the replace item command. So replace item entity at a tag equals chosen one. We're going to be doing that a lot. Slot.hotbar 8. Now I know that there are 9 spots on the hotbar, but the first one is a 0. So the 9th one is an 8. Make sure you have keep there. You want it only to replace the button if there is no button there. So put keep, pale oak button 1. And so that's going to summon one of those buttons into that slot. And then if you take it out of the slot, it's going to put another one right in there. And then connected to that, we have change score. So when you drop that button, chain conditional always active, it's going to run this scoreboard players add at a tag equals chosen one, arrow type 1. So it's going to add 1 to your score. So if it starts off at 1 and then you add 1 every time you drop it, it's just going to cycle up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? But it'll keep going. So we'll have to, and you'll see right here, we'll have to reset that in a second. Kill switch. Okay. Repeat, always active, /execute as at a tag equals chosen one. So we're going to execute as the player who has this tag at s at their location. Run kill at e name equals pale oak button r equals 4. And so what this is going to do is it's going to look for a pale oak button within 4 blocks of you if you have the chosen one tag. If it detects that, it's going to kill it. And then resetting the score here, We have repeating, always active, no delay on that. Let's see, which version you on? I'm not sure if you're talking to me. If you are, I am on Bedrock, the most updated version of Bedrock currently. Not the beta. I try to stick with the main release. More people play that, so I figure doing YouTube videos, I want to help out as many people as possible. So, resetting the score. We're going to do slash execute as at a tag equals chosen one at s. So as us and at us. If score at s, so if our score arrow type matches 7. So as I mentioned earlier, we only have 6. I have to go now. See you later. All right, it was good having you, Jay. Have a good day. So if your score matches 7, because we only have 6, so if the score goes higher than the range we're trying to use, we're going to run scoreboard player set at a tag equals chosen one arrow type 1. So if it gets to 7, which we can't use, it's too high, it just resets it automatically back to 1. So once you get up to 6 and you drop it again, it only hits 7 for literally probably about 1/10 of a second, and then the game is going to tick, and it'll automatically be reset down to 1. And so that is more or less how we switch between the different powers. The next part that we have here is the actual powers. Now, a lot of this looks a little complicated, but most of these blocks, like these whole sections here, for every single one of these is just detecting if the arrow is sticking into a block. Literally, it's mostly the same command on repeat, so it's not going to be too hard for you. But how these are going to start is we're going to start off with this one command block up here. It's a repeating command block. Repeat, always active. And we're going to do slash execute as at a tag equals chosen one. If score at s, arrow type matches 1, run set block. And then I'm using some tildes, so those are local variables. How long has it been, Mr. Brown going 67? How long has it been for what? I'm not sure what you're asking. If you're asking about the stream, it's only been going about 17 minutes. If you're asking about how long have I been doing videos on YouTube, I'd say that early 2020 is probably when I started posting seriously on YouTube. And then even then, I didn't even really understand what I was doing yet. It took me at least a year to figure out what I was doing there. So if that's not what you're asking, just let me know, because I'm not sure what you're asking. So back to here. So yes, we're going to summon in a redstone block to these local variables if our score matches 1. And so the local variables are, as you saw, was -2 on the x-axis, which is that first coordinate. Yes, if you don't have your coordinates on and you don't know how, it's something I should probably go over with everybody. Head to your settings and then just scroll down. It'll be right beneath friendly fire. Show coordinates. Make sure that's on. And then in the upper left of your screen, your coordinates will appear. Mine are blocked by my chat overlay. There are times where I'm playing with other people or I'm on servers or things like that, and so I don't need people to know exactly where I'm at all times. But what you'll notice in here, like I said, that -2 is on the first tilde, which is the x-axis. So if we move around -2 on that, I'm at -1139, so -1141. So it's going to summon in the redstone block right here if my score is at 1. And so when my score equals 1, that redstone block is going to power all these command blocks for me. It's a really quick way to shut it on, or turn it on and shut it off. And so let's go over the blocks that I have right here. First, I have one down on the ground, literally in the ground, and that redstone block is going to spawn in right on top of it. Impulse needs redstone, and what that is going to do is set block, and then we're using these local tildes again, but we're going to set air. You'll notice it says 1 up on the Y, and then 15 positive on the Z. So if I'm standing here, 1 up is obviously just going to be the block above that command block, and then the 15 is actually going to be down here. So when my score changes to 1 and I spawn in that redstone block right there, down at the other end, I'm also going to put air here and get rid of this one. So that's how I turn off the power that I was on and then use the power that I'm currently trying to use. Let's see, Joyce is in the chat now. How you doing, Joyce? And looks like Jasir Fright is here as well. All right, so I have another impulse command block here. No delay. And this is the title command. /title at a tag equals chosen one action bar. And then I'm using the kind of side carrots there. I'm not exactly sure what to call those. Arrows, I guess, is probably the best term for those. So I'm doing the arrow keys, and then I say fire arrow selected. Some of you in the short, when you were watching it, you saw that, and had a lot of people thinking it was a mod or an add-on simply because I was able to get to say the words right on the screen. So that's really cool that it seems to raise the quality of your build up so much for people that they assume that it's like a professional mod or add-on. So I think that's really useful, and it's more useful to just let you know what arrow you've just loaded up in your bow. You know, if I want to go freeze somebody, the last thing I need to do is blow them up. Connected also is this repeating command block here. So that's going to be repeating needs redstone. And we're going to do /execute as at a tag equals chosen one at s. We're going to run tag at e type equals arrow tag equals exclamation point fire r equals 2 add fire. So when you're the chosen one and you have your score equaling 1, so you have the fire arrows equipped, and you shoot an arrow, it tags that arrow fire if it's not already tagged. This is going to be really useful to lock on to the arrow's position and use the arrow. Oftentimes, if we want to track positions of an arrow we're shooting, we'll have to resort to using like an armor stand or something like that floating behind the arrow that'll land on it and then use the armor stand's position. This way, though, we just tag that arrow and then we can track the specific arrow. And then chains to that, chain conditional, always active. You don't have to do this. This was more for debugging, but I say arrow tagged here in this one. So when I shoot an arrow, you'll notice it pops up in the chat. It says arrow tagged. I did that simply just for debugging purposes, like the lamp that I had over there is just making sure that it's running properly. Arrows fly very fast, so you get a very limited time when it's within range to tag. So I just wanted to make sure the system was tagging all of the arrows properly, because if it doesn't tag it, you don't get the ability. Let's see, chat, why y'all not active? Isaac's asking. That's a good question. Isaac, let him know. Tell him how it's supposed to be. Moving on down the line here. Repeating, always active. And there is no delay on that. We're going to do /execute as at a tag equals chosen one at s. So we're executing at our position. And then we're going to run test for at e tag equals fire rm equals 5. So it's going to look at your position or mine, whoever's running the command. And if it finds any arrows tagged fire that are at least 5 blocks away, it's going to run this command line. I wanted at least 5 blocks away because we're doing a lot of really fun abilities on here that will get you dead if it's too close to you. So lightning spawning in on you. TNT minecart being summoned in and blowing you up. You know, these are things that are not enjoyable. A sonic explosion that is going to deal pretty much your whole health bar. You know, like these are things that you don't want to have happen in your face. So RM is a range minimum. I know sometimes we do R equals to have like, it's got to be within this radius. RM is more, it has to be outside that radius. So if it detects that arrow and it's far enough away, we got a comparator into a repeater, and it's going to power this redstone line. I want to do it this way because of the way that command blocks function in chains. I really just want to run these all at the same time. And so what I'm doing is repeating needs redstone because we're going to power it with the redstone line. /execute at e tag equals fire unless block ~= air. So as I mentioned that earlier, all of these blocks more or less are going to be used for detecting when your arrow lands in a block. slash execute at E tag equals fire. So it's going to look specifically for your arrow tagged fire. And remember, this only gets powered when it's at least 5 blocks away. Let's see. Isaac says, personally, I'm enjoying myself. That's good. You know, I'm having a pretty good time also. There's a few of us here right now, so anything's better than talking to an empty chat. That's got to be the worst. I've done it a couple times, and it just, you know, it doesn't hit the same way. So we're tagging at that arrow that we tagged, or executing at that arrow that we tagged. And unless means it's not going to run. It's not going to run if that block is air. So as long as it's air around the arrow, it won't run this. But the moment that this block becomes something other than air, it's going to run fill, -1, -1, -1, -1, -1, -1, fire, replace air. So it's going to replace all the air blocks within like a 3x3 block around the arrow with fire. Moving on to the next one here, set up exactly the same way. It's the exact same command, only instead of ~, we're doing ~, -1, So now it's checking if the block below the arrow isn't air. Give you a second here to take a look at that. But again, it's exactly the same commands that we just used. I'm just changing the coordinates where we're checking to see if the block is air. The next one is going to be, again, exactly the same. Now we've moved on to the X coordinate. We're doing 1. Everything else, 100% the same. And then exactly the same again. That 1 becomes a -1 here. So what I'm doing with all these command blocks is I'm individually checking the blocks around the arrow, because there are several different directions an arrow can get stuck in a block. It could be off on the X, one way or the other. It could be off on the Z, one way or the other. It could be off on the Y. So these are things that when we're running commands like this to check for, we have to be comprehensive. I tried using the blocks portion of the execute. So at that point, what you do is like execute at E tag equals fire unless blocks, and then you type in 2 sets of coordinates like you would with the fill command, right? 1 on one corner, 1 on the exact opposite corner. And then you type in another coordinate, and it's going to check all those blocks. So I tried to set that to check for air, and the arrow, it wasn't working for me. I'm not sure if there's a current bug. Maybe there's going to be a hot fix for it or something. That would have been way simpler to use. I spent probably an hour trying to get it to work for me, and so that command was not working at the time when I was trying to get it to work. But what it does is that you can do all or masked. And so you can check if all of the blocks are air, or you can specifically mask out blocks like air, so it won't check for them. So either way you want to use that command, I wasn't able to get it to work for the way I wanted to. So I'm using the single version, and I'm doing it, well, 6 times, checking for different blocks around where the arrow is. That way I know when the arrow lands in the ground, in a wall, in the ceiling, anything like that. So you see the only difference in all these commands that I just showed you was this set of coordinates. We're just slightly putting an offset in different directions. So now I know when my arrow lands, and I'm going to fill with fire. And then over here, separate from that, I have a repeating always active command block. Everyone is so locked in the video that no one is talking. It's possible. You know, they could be following along and building, and which does involve some typing. And then in this one, slash execute at E, tag equals fire, if block, ~, fire, run kill at E, tag equals fire. So this is going to check for if the arrow summons in fire at the block where it is, which it should using the fill commands that we just ran. So this, in theory, kills that arrow as soon as the fire gets spawned in. If for some reason it doesn't work, I have a long tick delay on this repeating always active, and we're just going to do slash kill at E, tag equals fire. So for some reason the arrow doesn't work, it doesn't spawn in fire, I still want to get rid of it. Because I'm checking for arrows with that name in order to run the commands I'm doing, I don't need there to be more than one, because that tends to make commands less efficient. Let's just put it that way. So yeah, that is the That's the fire arrow. And then to change it over to the next one, I would just drop this, and you'll see that redstone block moved over, and then it replaced this one with air. And that's because I changed my score to 2. Repeating always active command block up here, we're doing /execute as at A, tag equals chosen one, if score at S, arrow type matches 2. So we're looking for us to see if our score equals 2, and then it's going to put a redstone block. Same local coordinates, and that's because this arrow is moved over. So instead of spawning it here, it now spawns it 2 off on the X based on this command block's location. And as you guessed it, underneath this is a command block that's much like this one that replaced this spot with air. So let me show you. /set block tilde tilde 1 tilde -3 air. So 1 above the command block, and then -3 on the Z, which brings us to here. So when I got the score of 2, it switched over the redstone block to here and erased the one that I currently had. Want to make sure that we clean everything up really well. And then, like with the first one here, I have a title command for at A, tag equals chosen one, and the action bar to say ice arrows selected. I have a repeating here. Needs redstone. So when that redstone block pops in, sorry, I can't talk. We're going to do execute as at A, tag equals chosen one, at S, run tag, at E, type equals arrow, R equals 2, add ice. So just like with the first line when we were going to tag those arrows fire as we shot them, this time we're going to tag them ice because this is our ice ability. So I don't want to use the fire tag again. Hold on, throat's getting a little scratchy. That did not help. I have a chained conditional, always active command block here. And again, you don't have to do these ones. This was just for debugging for me. It says say arrow tagged. In fact, we can go ahead and just get rid of all of these now that I have it fully built and I know that it all works. I don't need to have that there anymore. So like with the first line, what we're going to do here, repeating always active, is we're going to execute at our position. So as at A, tag equals chosen one, at S, we're going to run test for, and we're looking for that arrow tagged ice more than 5 blocks away, RM, minimum radius. So once we shoot that arrow and it gets far enough away, it's going to run this line. And just like what we did with fire on the other side, we're going to do with ice. Literally the exact same command. We're doing execute at E, tag equals ice, unless block, tilde, 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 air, run fill, tilde 1, tilde 1, tilde 1, tilde -1, tilde -1, tilde -1, ice, replace air. Everything on this is 100% exactly the same as this one. The only difference is the tag is ice instead of fire, and we're filling with ice instead of fire. Otherwise, the principle is exactly the same thing here. Looking at the next one, again, we're going to start slowly going through those local coordinates, making sure that we're checking all of the blocks around the arrow. So this one, we're doing -1 on the Y. This one, we're doing +1 on the X. We're still filling with air, checking for the entity tags with ice. Did I say filling with air? It may have. That's embarrassing. Same one here, -1 on the X. This one's going to be +1 on the Z. And then the last one is going to be -1 on the Z. So as soon as that arrow hits the ground, it's going to fill those blocks up with ice. Oh yeah, sorry. I moved past it so that we could read the command blocks underneath. There we go. I was royally confused for about half a second. Da-da-da-da. All right. So, just like before, repeat, always active. I'm going to check if the block that the arrow is located at is ice. And if it is, we're going to kill the arrow tagged ice. Once it runs, we don't need the arrow anymore. And for some reason, if it doesn't run, we're going to have another one of those long tick delay command blocks set up to kill that ice arrow. I'm doing such a long delay because this turns on as... Holy crap. That's why you don't leave ice unattended, kids. This is exactly why. I'll deal with that in a minute. Ugh. Gonna need so many mop buckets. That starts as soon as you tag the arrow, not when it hits. So that 300 tick delay actually counts all the time that the arrow is actually flying through the sky as well. We don't want that to do that kill until we're done with the arrow. So that's why that one's delayed more. So moving on to score equals 3, repeating always active. We're going to execute as us if our score at S is our score. Arrow type matches 3. Run set block again, tilde -2, tilde tilde, redstone block. So it's going to put that right here. This here is going to do the same set block, tilde tilde 1, tilde -3, air to replace that redstone block with air. And it's going to let us know that we now have lightning arrows selected. Now, you got to see what that did when I fired that arrow a second ago. So it's aptly named, of course. And then here we have a repeating needs redstone command block / execute as at A tag equals chosen one at S run tag at E type equals arrow R equals 2 add lightning. So as soon as you shoot an arrow with your score equaling 3, it's going to tag it lightning because it's a lightning arrow. Here, repeating always active. We're going to execute as us, at us, run test for, and then we're going to check for that arrow tagged lightning at least 5 blocks away. RM equals 5. We don't want to get hit by lightning, and then it's going to power that line. And this will be slightly different, but the idea is still the same. We're going to execute at the arrow's position, unless block, tilde tilde tilde, air. So all of this part here is still exactly the same. The only difference is now instead of running a fill command, I'm going to run a tag command. So as soon as that arrow hits a block and one of these gets taken, it's going to run tag. At E type equals not an item, not an XP orb, tag equals not chosen one, R equals 5, we're going to add target. So any entity that's not you, or like an item or an XP orb laying around, is going to get target added on as a tag. That includes the arrow. That's why you saw earlier, if you were here in the stream, when I used it, it hit the entities near the arrow as well as the arrow. So it'll hit multiple targets. When we come here, it's going to be the same thing, only we're going to do -1 on the Y coordinate. Then we're going to do the X coordinate. Do -1 on the X coordinate. Then we're going to do +1 on the Z, and then we're going to do -1 on the Z. So all of these are exactly the same except for the local coordinates. So now we have all the entities and the arrow tagged as target. What we're doing here is a repeating always active command block with a 20 tick delay. Execute at E, tag equals target, so any of the people that are near where the arrow landed, run summon lightning bolt, tilde tilde tilde. It'll bring lightning down directly on their position. So multiple entities, the arrow will be struck as long as they're pretty close. And then here, chain conditional always active, I have 150 tick delay. We're going to /kill at E, tag equals lightning. So once the arrow hits and starts striking people with lightning, after a moment or so, usually enough just for 1 or 2 lightning bolts, it's going to kill that arrow. And so let me power that up. And then we're going to run lightning. There you go. I only got 1 strike that time. So the next one we pop up here. And we're doing the same thing. We're going to execute as the chosen one. That's the tag we're using for this. But we're going to check if our score for the arrow type scoreboard that we made matches 4. Then we're going to do that run set block for that redstone block. And it's going to position it right here on top of that. This one here is going to replace the block here with air. Getting rid of the ice power, or sorry, lightning power, because we just did lightning. and then it's going to let you know that we're now equipped with the explosive arrows built. Isaac, I might be going to grab lunch in a few minutes, so I'll be leaving soon since it's lunchtime in my country. That's cool. That's cool. So it looks like you're a couple or a few hours ahead of me, which puts you, what, across the Atlantic? Hungary. Okay. I know right where you're at. Perfect. So explosive arrows. You know, if you didn't live in Hungary, maybe you wouldn't be so hungry. Please don't leave. I know that was bad. Yeah, so you have the explosive arrows equipped now. And when that redstone block is there, we're going to search for any arrows that we're shooting by executing as us at our position. And we're going to tag arrows within 2 blocks. And we're going to add the explosive tag. Once we have that tagged, repeat always active, and it gets at least 5 blocks away, this test for command is going to run. So it's going to look at our position and check for any of those arrows that are tagged explosive more than 5 blocks away. It's going to run this line, which very exciting. You all know it's coming in this line already. No delay here. We're going to do execute at that arrow tagged explosive unless block is air. So this time we're also checking. So unless entity at E type equals TNT minecart. I'm checking to see if there's a TNT minecart already spawned in. And honestly, this would probably be smarter if you added a small range to it as well. That way it's not just checking if there's a TNT minecart loaded into the world at all. But the reason is I'm going to summon in a TNT minecart. So if that block is not air and there's not a TNT minecart, we're going to summon a TNT minecart. Tilde, tilde, 1, tilde, which means right above where the arrow is. The zeros here were added in the, I think it was the 1.19.70 update? And it has something to do with like the rotation angles and stuff like that. So a lot of people have issues with getting this command to work anymore, and that's usually because they're missing these 2. Just put zeros in there unless you want to specifically edit those data points. But most of the time, if you're summoning in a minecart that's going to explode, you don't really care how it's rotated. So yeah, put those in, and then Minecraft on Instant Prime. And that's going to summon in a TNT minecart. Same thing here, same exact commands. But again, we're going to shift. We're doing -1 on the Y, then 1 on the X. And then we're going to do -1 on the X. And then we're going to do the same thing with the Z. I hope I'm not going too fast for everybody. Let me know if I am. Again, though, this live stream will be available to watch after. So you can go back and pause this and follow along like you can with any of my normal tutorials. So we're summoning in that TNT minecart, and it's on Instant Prime, which means it should explode immediately. Sometimes you'll catch a glimpse of it. If there's another item or block in the exact place where it's spawning in, sometimes it spawns in for a little bit longer. So there are sometimes issues with it, but 90% of the time it's going to blow up immediately. You shouldn't see it. Repeat, always active with a long delay. If for some reason your arrow survives that explosion, this is going to kill it. I think I've had an arrow survive an explosion like 1 time out of all the times I tested this, which was pretty extensively. Oh yeah, I'm still on lightning. Switch. What the heck? There we go. See, the water there makes it pop up for a second. And if I hit the block above the water... What the heck? I think it's exploding before it hits the wall. I think the water is really screwing with that there. Let's take a look. I usually don't like blowing up the areas around my builds, but... yeah, so... like right there, I didn't see it. Sometimes you'll catch a quick glimpse. Like right there, I did see it for a second. Did there too. But usually if you do see it, it's very, very fast. Water, though, tends to get in the way of TNT exploding properly, so be mindful when you're using it around water. It'll still explode, but it won't break any blocks, and it might delay how long that TNT minecart is visible. So yeah, that's the TNT minecart, the explosive arrow. We're moving on to checking for a score of 5 now. If it matches 5, again, it's going to set that redstone block here. And then this one's going to set an air block here. It's going to let you know that we now have the Sonic arrow selected. And there was a lot of people that were asking about the Sonic arrows. So if this is something you're curious about, well, here we go. So we're going to do the same thing that we did. We're going to check for when we're shooting an arrow. So it's looking for an arrow within 2 blocks of us. Then it's going to add Sonic. Here, we're going to check for a Sonic arrow that's at least 5 blocks away from us. So it's going to run as us, at us, and it's going to test for Sonic RM5, which is range minimum. Only 4. Yeah, we had more earlier. I think we had... Not sure how many we had at one point in time, but yeah, we're at 4 right now. Kind of a slow day. It's weird. Saturday mornings are my busiest time for viewers, but maybe it's not the best time for streaming. So let me know if there's a better time for everybody who's here. So once that arrow is fired, it goes more than 4 blocks away. We're going to do the magical 6 blocks here, where we check and see if it landed somewhere. This time, very similar. We don't need to check to see if there's already a minecart or anything like that. So as soon as that block comes back as not being air, we're just going to tag it, and we're going to add boom. I used capitals there. I wanted the extra emphasis because this is loud. The Sonic boom is like the loudest thing in the game. Well, maybe not the loudest, but it's right up there. So we're going to do this again, changing all the locals. So we're doing the Y, then we're going to do the X here, adding +1. We're going to add -1 to the X instead. Doing it to the Z now. So we're going to go through, and so no matter where an arrow lands, we're going to tag that arrow as boom. Now here, repeating, always active. Execute at E, tag equals boom. So we're looking for that arrow now once it's landed, and we're going to run particle Minecraft Sonic explosion .. This is the visual effects that the Warden has using its Sonic boom ability. Chain conditional, always active. We're going to execute at that arrow, tags boom, and we're going to run play sound. Mob, Warden, Sonic boom, at A, R equals 30. So now you have the visual effects and the sound effects for the Sonic arrow. Here, chain conditional, always active. We're going to execute at that arrow's position, run damage. Any entity that's not an item or an XP orb within 5 blocks is going to take 20 damage. It's going to be considered an entity attack, and they're going to know that you were the one that did it. So if for some reason an entity survives this, they'd have to be pretty strong. They're going to know that you were the one that shot them with it. So things that come to mind, iron golems. I believe they have 100 health, right? The Wither, the Ender Dragon, the Ravager. So there are a lot of things that have more health. So if you shoot them with this, they're going to know it was you. And they're going to be very angry with you. And then we got repeating, always active. 5-tick delay, /kill at E, tag equals boom. So since I'm adding a new tag when the arrow lands, I don't have to do a super long delayed tag to kill it. I'm doing the 5 ticks after I give it that second tag. But for some reason, in case it doesn't work, I'm still doing that super long delay anyway. So that's going to be killed tag Sonic, not tag boom. All right, and so if I switch over to that arrow, and I shoot this, you'll see that it does the visual effect. It does the audio effect. I'm not close enough. You got to be within, I think it was 30 blocks to hear it. Like I said, it's loud. It's really loud. There we go. So the last one is not an offensive arrow. It's more of an auxiliary purpose. And this is going to be when your score equals 6. We're going to summon in that redstone block to this position. This command block is going to summon in air to this position. It's going to pop up and let you know that you now have the teleport arrow selected. It's a pretty useful one, especially if you want to use this on survival mode or if you're an explorer or an adventurer. So we're going to check for when we shoot an arrow. So add us, we're going to execute, and then we're going to tag that arrow teleport. Here, repeating, always active, we're going to look for when that teleport arrow gets more than 5 blocks away. This one, you don't necessarily need to do that because this is not something that's going to blow up. All right, Isaac. Have a good time. And so when that arrow gets fired, it's going to power these. We'll repeat, needs redstone. And what we're going to do is we're going to execute at the teleport arrow's position. Add it. Unless block is air. And then we're going to run tag add warp. So we're going to, just like with these ones where we tagged them boom, I'm going to tag these ones warp as soon as the teleport lands. So we're going to go through and we're going to edit these local coordinates for that one. This one's going to be just below where the arrow lands. Then we're going to do the x-axis. So depending on which direction, so like right now, positive x would be that way. So it'd be, we're going to do these sides of the arrow. There's the opposite one. And then we're going to do the z. So what that does is now we're going to look for positive 1 and negative 1 on this axis. So we're checking to make sure that the arrow does not hit any blocks anywhere. And then we're going to give it the warp tag. Once it has the warp tag, repeat, always active, we're going to execute as us at the arrow's position. And we're going to run teleport at us, or at s, which is us, caret, -2. So it's going to teleport us to just short of where the arrow is, like a block or two away from where the arrow landed. Only because sometimes arrows go into blocks, and we don't want to go to that exact position. We also don't want to stand in the same block with an arrow because it can hurt you. It can actually physically hurt you because it creates the collision that arrows are looking for. So I do that offset there. So it's going to teleport you to near the arrow. Chain conditional, always active. No delay. Then we're going to kill the arrow. And then I'm running 2 effects. Chain conditional, always active. I mentioned that earlier. One is slow falling. That way, if you're using arrows to get up to high places, it's not just going to drop you off at full speed. You'll slowly fall down so you have time to aim a new arrow into another item or something like that. And then the last one, chain conditional, always active, water breathing. Sometimes when we teleport into blocks. And if we're playing in survival mode, you need something called air. This means you don't need air, which will give you those precious moments you need to dig your way out of whatever you may have just teleported yourself into. You don't need to have those on there. If you want to live dangerously, I understand. I too sometimes like to live dangerously. But that's something that I wanted to put in. Now, some of you might be realizing that all of this is only set up to detect when arrows are hitting blocks. If an arrow hits an entity, it's not going to trigger any of that. So that, I want to go over with you kind of live and build that with you. So what we're going to do is the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get a repeating command block. I'm going to get a comparator, sticky piston, redstone block, and then probably a regular command block. And so we can detect when those arrows are, how do I want to say this? No longer with us, right? So let's start off with, say the fire arrows, right? I'm going to do /test4 at E tag equals fire. Let me put this comparator down here. And then we're going to add the sticky piston and the redstone command block. So now, if I shoot a fire arrow, yeah, always active would really help that. Why didn't that run? All right, so for some reason it's being wonky. Let's try that again. I'm going to shoot this fire arrow. There. It powered the sticky piston. And as soon as that arrow disappears, which it will automatically because I have a timer, it turned it off. Here's the cool thing. When you shoot an arrow into an entity, that arrow no longer exists in the world. So if I summon a villager, and I shoot the villager, it shut that off immediately. Right? And so what we can do then is I can put a command block here. And I'll do execute as at e tag equals fire at s. So I'm going to check, I'm going to run this as the arrow tags fire at its location. And I'm going to run tag. Let's do any entity within 3 blocks, because I think it's a 3x3 radius that we do the fire. And I don't want it to be me. Put that capital in there. I don't want it to be an item. I don't want it to be an XP orb. And what I can do is I can tag that with fire. We can add. So now, in theory, if I shoot the villager, yep, it would have ran that, but there's a problem. I'm filling air blocks with fire, and you haven't realized it yet. But this room that we're in is not filled with air. It's mostly filled with light blocks. I used the fill commands to fill it up with light blocks so that it would be very well lit for my video. So I just realized that that's actually going to interfere with my fill command because I'm specifically looking for air blocks to replace with fire. Let's try that command again. Summon in a villager. Oh man, it's a kid. Let's lead him off a little bit less then, right? I hit him with it. The arrow no longer exists, and it still runs the fill command for the fire because I tagged the villager as fire. The same tag I was looking for with the commands to target the arrow. So all the setup that I had currently was for checking if the arrow hits a block. You can also do stuff like this to check if it hits an entity. And this would work for fire, it would work for ice, whatever you want to do. So let me, for example, let me do Sonic. Now, when the Sonic arrow hits, we were tagging with boom. So I want to do that tag here as well. Summon in a villager. And then if I hit it, oh. That's not working. Why is that not working? It's because I still have the fire arrow equipped. And that's why being smart is so important. And I'm not having a smart morning. Let's try this again. I killed him. Can't tag him if he's dead. There. Well, it killed him that time too, and it still worked. That's confusing, chat. That's confusing. But anyway, yeah, so that system there can help detect if you hit an entity. Yeah. I didn't like that guy. All right, so I guess at this point, I want to open it up. If anybody has any questions or if there was anything you wanted me to go back and review. Kinda bad. What's up? Alan not safe. Not getting any replies. No, nothing. All right, so I'll just kind of walk back through here, make sure that everyone that was not here in the beginning kind of understands what we're going on. And again, this chat or this live stream will be available for everybody to watch. It's going to be posted pretty much just like a normal tutorial for everyone to follow along with. So we're creating that scoreboard called arrow type. We're using a tag to control who gets the ability. You can make it whatever you want. Just make sure that whatever tag you're setting, you also change all of the commands to match and search for that specific tag. When you get the tag, it starts your score off at 1. That way you start off at the beginning of the arrows. You get a button using replace item. I'm using keep. It only checks for when you drop the button. When you do, we're going to add 1 to the score. When we drop the button, we want to make sure that we kill it because we don't need a bunch of those laying around. And then here, if the score gets greater than 6, if it matches 7, we're going to reset it back to 1 because we're only using scores 1 through 6. Score 1 is for the fire arrow. And for those that stayed with us, we're summoning in a redstone block onto this position. That's controlled by this command block here. And under each of these positions, we have another block that's going to get rid of the redstone block at the last position. So we want to keep it clean, only one redstone block at a time. So you'll see as I cycle through, when we summon in the new redstone block, it gets rid of the old one. We're checking for arrows that we're shooting within a range of 2. We're adding tags to it. That way we can keep track of specific arrows and not having skeletons, random skeletons, getting these super awesome abilities and shooting them back at us. Some of my early bow builds were just checking for arrow, and it turned skeletons into some of the most terrifying mobs that exist. Imagine giving yourself a bow that shoots nuclear bombs with mushroom clouds, and every skeleton in the game is just going around nuking you. It's terrifying. So then we're going to check for when those arrows get more than 5 blocks away using RM rather than just R. That's the radius minimum. And then we're checking for when the arrow lands in a block that's not air. By using the execute command unless block, we can tell if the block at a certain position is air or not. If it's not air, we're going to run the abilities. We did fill commands for fire and ice, just filling in the area around the bow. For lightning and for the TNT, we start using we're tagging entities around. Oh, I'm sorry, this is just for the lightning. For the bow, I believe we just summon directly. This one we're tagging because we're able to hit multiple entities, and then we're going to summon down on all of those targets. For the explosive, we're just doing the direct summon. But we are checking to make sure we don't have a TNT minecart that already exists before we summon in the new one. Otherwise, you can get like an infinite loop of TNT minecarts exploding, and then once the first one explodes, it sends all the other ones outward in like a Nova Blast of exploding TNT minecarts that are already triggered. So you can very quickly screw up the area that you are standing in. So make sure you're checking for that. And then for the Sonic, we're tagging as well, just like we did with the Lightning. We're also going to be tagging for the Teleport. The tag command is really useful at controlling specific targets and making sure that you're only targeting the ones that you want to target. For the Sonic Boom, we're using particle and play sound to create the atmosphere. And then for Teleport, we're just literally running a teleport commands on the arrow after it lands, so we're checking for that second tag. And then remember, we don't want to teleport to the arrow directly, Got that. That's more likely to cause you to suffocate or take damage from the arrow. Yeah, all right. If you like this, tune in next week on Saturday. I'm trying to do these morning streams every Saturday at 9 a.m. Today's turnout is not quite as big as it was last week, so I'll probably have to take a look and see if there's a better time slot. I know many of us are out of school now, so maybe Saturdays are not the busiest day of the week for us anymore. So go ahead and let me know in the comment section if you're watching what days work best for you. I want to try and figure out moving forward how we can get as many of you as possible in these videos so you can get a little bit more hands-on interaction with me. Hello, Link. Everybody, this is my cat, Link. He's an old boy. He's, I think, 8 now, and he's a big orange buddy. He's a little slow upstairs, not too smart, but he's pretty cool. No, 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 no. Let's get back on the couch. Come on. Come on, over here. Over here. There you go. All right, everybody. That's pretty much everything I have for you today. Like I said, I'll be back on next week. If you haven't seen it yet, I posted a video yesterday on how to get Iron Man's powers. It's got a full suit up and suit down sequence. You get missiles, you get repulsors, you get unibeams. I even show an add-on that I found which gives you the coolest flight animation for becoming Iron Man. It'll also work for other builds if I go back and update like my Superman build or other heroes that can fly. So keep an eye on the channel. Give me a like and a sub. That way you don't miss any updates. And I'll keep making sure to give you the best videos that I can. All right, everybody. This is Browncoat67, and I will catch you next time.